Vas Pardette, tá aqui. Gemini estou aqui. Gemini estou aqui. Ei, bring estou aqui isso. Kom.
Okay, think about this. Evolution isn't just some ancient thing, stuck in textbooks. It's actually happening right now, maybe even in your living room with your dog. Seriously, it sounds kind of wild, but dogs seem to be going through this huge evolutionary phase, a third wave of domestication right now in the 21st century. So today, our mission in this deep dive is to really unpack that. How are our modern lives, city living, working from home, how's that reshaping dogs, turning them from working animals into these incredibly emotionally tuned companions? And apparently it's driven by some pretty fascinating biology and very intentional breeding choices.
It really is a profound shift, especially when you look back. I mean, the first wave, that started thousands of years ago. It was largely, self-domestication is a good term for it. You had wolves drawn to human settlements, maybe for food scraps, and over time, the tamer ones just stuck around. It was about mutual survival.
Okay, so that's the first wave, wolves sort of choosing us in a way.
Right. Then came the second wave. This was more tied to the agricultural era, and especially that Victorian explosion of dog breeding. That's when humans really started intentionally selecting dogs, not just for being tame, but for specific physical traits, specific jobs, herding, hunting, guarding. It became this very methodical, artificial selection process, really shaping breeds for work.
Right, like designing dogs for tasks. So if those were the first two waves, what's really pushing this new one, this third wave? What makes it so different?
Well, the big catalyst seems to be us, our lives. We're more urbanized, maybe more sedentary, and there's this deep, deep desire for emotional connection, for companionship. And you really saw this accelerate during the pandemic, didn't you? People started calling their dogs wellness anchors, emotional regulators.
Yeah, I definitely heard that a lot.
So the key difference now, the defining traits we're selecting for, implicitly or explicitly, are things like enhanced calmness, more friendliness, better emotional responsiveness. Think about it, those really strong guarding instincts from the second wave. They're often not what you want in a small apartment building today.
That makes sense. A shift from utility to, emotional utility almost. But how does that actually happen? What's changing in the dogs themselves? What's the mechanism?
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting biologically. One key player is oxytocin, the love hormone. It's vital for social bonding in mammals, including us and dogs. There's this pivotal study back in 2017 from Linköping University in Sweden that showed this quite clearly.
Oh, I think I read about that one. Was that the one with the golden retrievers and the impossible task?
That's the one. They had 60 Goldens tried to open a tricky treat jar, basically designed to see if they'd look to humans for help.
Yeah.
And what they found after giving some dogs an oxytocin nasal spray was really telling.
What was it?
Dogs with a specific variation in the gene for the oxytocin receptor. They were much, much more likely to seek help from the humans after getting that oxytocin boost. And here's the kicker. They found that same gene variant in wolves, too.
Whoa, really? In wolves?
Yeah. Which suggests this genetic predisposition, this potential for strong human-directed social bonding. Using the oxytocin system, it might have been there right from the very beginning of domestication. So it's like we're not just training dogs to be companions, we're potentially tapping into and amplifying this ancient shared genetic pathway. It's coevolution sped up.
That's fascinating. So we're selecting for genes linked to social bonding.
Exactly. And that leads directly to what we call behavior-driven selective breeding. The focus shifts. It's less about, say, leg length for running and more about selecting for, calm nervous systems, friendliness, adaptability, flexibility. Dogs are, in a sense, being bio-optimized for traits like emotional intelligence, patience, empathy, even things like detecting human anxiety or supporting neurodivergent individuals.
And I guess service dogs are the ultimate example of this, right? They seem to be at the very cutting edge.
And they absolutely are. They're kind of the vanguard of this third wave. You see it clearly, that increased friendliness, the calmness, the intense emotional responsiveness, it's often observable even when they're just puppies. They really embody this deliberate selection for sophisticated emotional and social skills.
So pulling this together, what does it really mean for us and for dogs? It sounds like they're moving beyond just being pets. They're becoming integral family members, almost like sophisticated emotional caregivers. You even mentioned the term emotional surrogates.
I think that captures part of it, yeah. And it's important to remember, these aren't just surface-level behavioral changes. We're talking about potentially measurable shifts in genetics, in brain chemistry,
stert is afgesit. Ek het 'n baie nice broad collar op. En ek is so gehoorsaam. Don't know what his temperament is, but he's definitely Pardette's bodyguard.
In neurological responses, essentially a biological reshaping to better suit this companion role.
But are there downsides, risks?
Oh, definitely, there are concerns. This intense focus on specific temperaments could narrow genetic diversity, which can bring health problems down the line. And think about it, if we're so focused on calmness and low anxiety, what happens to dogs that are naturally high energy or a bit anxious?
Yeah.
They're sadly more likely to end up in shelters. So there's an inadvertent selection against certain traits, too.
That's a really important point about unintended consequences. And it raises an ethical question, doesn't it? This companion optimization. Could it become a kind of quiet exploitation? Are we, maybe without realizing it, asking too much, expecting dogs, especially service animals, to just absorb all our stress and emotional pain?
That's the crux of it, really. This third wave forces us to reconsider the whole human-dog relationship, the social contract we have.
For a walk, there's some Adidas. Shadow is very interested in them. But nope, he's not going to be let.
It's moving beyond just providing food and shelter. We need to think about the psychological weight, the ethical side of breeding animals specifically for complex emotional labor. They used to be vital for our physical survival. Now maybe they're becoming vital for navigating our emotional worlds. And in a world where genuine connection feels increasingly precious, maybe that loyalty, that emotional attunement is the most valuable evolutionary path of all. Something for all of us, dog owners or not, to think about